another concussion for Tua Tagovailoa is what starts week 2 of the National Football League, the 2024 NFL season. If you're interested in these sensationalistic stories about what Tua Tagovailoa should do, go ahead and watch CBS Sports Network, the Dan Le Batard Show, ESPN, of course, and yes, ESPN, and yes, a deal with Disney. He is done with DirecTV, so yay, we get to watch football. Too bad we couldn't watch the Monday night game last week, but that's another story for another time. But anyway, week 2 is underway. Let's get started, because I don't have time for this bullshit. First up, 49ers going on the road to take on the Minnesota Vikings. Well, it seems that the offensive line for the 49ers, at least in terms of run blocking, is actually doing well. Oh, because another no-name running back got like 100 yards and a couple of touchdowns against the Jets on Monday night. Right. Of course. And then you got the Vikings, who kind of killed who really killed the fucking New York Giants. The Giants were pretty fucking bad, really fucking horrible. The Vikings, they still have some. They are underrated from a talent perspective too. Again. I made the mistake last year of taking the 49ers to win in Minnesota. As much as I want to think the 49ers will beat the Vikings in Minnesota this time around, I cannot say that. Go ahead and take the Vikings to defeat the 49ers. Next up, Seahawks going on the road to take on the Patriots. Both teams are 1-0. Oh, that's right, the Patriots beat the fucking Bengals. Why did the Bengals get off to slow starts? I don't fucking get it. But in any event, and then you got the Seahawks, who didn't play their best game against the Broncos. But when you face the Broncos, you don't have to necessarily play your best game. Though it's actually recommended that you do, and not experiment against the Broncos, because that's how the Broncos accidentally win football games. But in any event, the Broncos defense is not good at all. The Patriots defense is a little bit better than the Broncos defense. So, in other words, the Seahawks might have a real tough time running the ball with Kenneth Walker against the Patriots defense. And the Seahawks defense isn't that fucking great, in my opinion. But because of all the bullshit, I gotta flip for this one. And it falls on the ground. You know what? I'm just gonna do it like this. It falls on the ground. It landed on heads. So go ahead and take the New England Patriots to defeat the Seattle Seahawks. That's right. The Patriots, without Bill Belichick, is gonna go 2-0. To start the season. Giants going on the road to take on the Washington Commanders. While I think both teams are kind of a joke right now, which is kind of to be expected, because the Commanders are clearly rebuilding. What's the Giants' excuse for starting like shit? And I really should have taken the Vikings last week. But wow. It's becoming evident that Daniel Jones is not your quarterback of the future, yet is not a franchise type quarterback, and yet you're paying him low tier franchise quarterback money. Hey, how that works, I have no fucking clue. since one of these teams has to go 1-1, take the Commanders to win, I guess. But yeah, Chargers going on the road to take on the Panthers. And we're already seeing the effects of Jim Harbaugh's offense, even though he's more of a defensive guy. But you get my point. So it's really Greg Roman's offense. And while I'm not necessarily a fan of Greg Roman's style, Justin Herbert might actually fit Roman's offense, shockingly enough. But the Chargers are doing what seems a lot of teams are going to be doing this season. Run the fucking football. You saw the results with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards in especially the second half of that game against the Raiders. And the Panthers, holy fucking shit, they fucking stink. And I think you're gonna get a result almost similar to last week. It's not gonna be 47-10, but I gotta say it. Panthers, end of story. Moving on quickly. That fucking roster sucks, and Bryce Young sucks. Speaking of the Saints, Cowboys traveling back home to take on the New Orleans Saints. Let's see how the Saints do when they do against an actual football team, a team with actual talent. But 47-10 against to start the season is really nothing to sneeze at. I mean, the Saints played the Panthers twice last year, and they were not blowing the Panthers out at all. Maybe it's because of the new offensive coordinator named Clint Kubiak, son of former Broncos and Texans head coach Gary Kubiak. I totally forgot, and that's my mistake because I did hear that Kubiak was taken over as offensive coordinator. As far as the Cowboys go, okay, you beat the Cleveland Browns, and granted they're an injury-riddled football team, I guess, and I guess that's not going to change, but I would coin flip, and I don't feel like picking shit up right now. So I'll just say it right now. Go ahead. I will not be shocked if the Saints beat the Cowboys. I want to see what the Saints can do, quite frankly, but go ahead and take the Dallas Cowboys to defeat the New Orleans Saints. And that's all I've got to say about that. Time to move on quickly. So I want to get this uploaded. Colts going on the road to take on the Green Bay Packers. Well, that didn't take long for Jordan Love to be out, and I don't think he's playing this game. I don't think he's playing the game against the Colts. Obviously, they did say it was 3 to 6 weeks, but then they're saying that Jordan Love might come back sooner than that, and might even come back playing in the game against the Colts. And as far as the Colts go, valiant effort, but then again, it's your division opponent. You're supposed to show up against your division opponent. And so you don't get brownie points for showing up against your division opponent. You get brownie points for beating your division opponent, and you have not done that. So big fucking deal. You lost. I saw some nice throws from Anthony Richardson. I forgot that guy is back. He's going to have a lot of work to do on his hands. And I believe, and yes, Malik Willis is going to be the starting quarterback. However, this Packers team is still good. This Packers team is still a really good football team, an up and coming football team, quite frankly. And I'll just give the Packers an excuse to run the ball with Josh Jacobs. Because that's what because again, there's a good chance that the NFL might be going back to a more balanced offense as opposed to this past decade with nothing but pass heavy offenses. Nothing wrong with that. It's exciting football, but you got to get the run in. And this is not something to agree to disagree on. So with that being said, go ahead and I'm gonna take the Packers to defeat the Colts. If I'm wrong, I don't really care. But that's all I've got to say about that move, and I've got to move on quickly. Browns going on the road to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Battle of the Ophers for this one. The Browns. The excuses for the Browns that you're expected to agree with, I guess, is that the only reason why the Browns lost is only because they lost both of their tackles and Nick Chubb wasn't ready to go. If they really think that and expect other people to agree with that, they got another thing fucking coming. For two reasons. One, it's called a 50 fuck. Actually, just one reason. Fuck that shit. And the only one that matters. It's called a 53-man roster. Yes, offensive linemen are tough to find, but that's why the GMs get paid the big bucks, and the scouting department and front office in general get paid the big bucks combined to find those types of players. So give me a fucking break on that one. And Deshaun Watson, I understand not all of this was his fault, and to be honest with you, I cannot believe it. There is one thing I am impressed with. Jerry Jeudy scored a touchdown pass when the game was already out of reach against the Cowboys. Good job, Jerry Jeudy. You really proved people wrong. You proved some of your doubters wrong by scoring meaningless touchdowns when the game's out of reach. Yes, it was the third. It's granted it was the third quarter, so you still had time, I guess. But wow, good job, Jerry. Boy, he's got something going here in Cleveland. Obviously, that was a fucking joke. This is the same fucking bullshit that myself as a Broncos fan had to fucking go through for the past 4 fucking years. So, give me a break. And then the Jaguars. They almost got the victory against the Dolphins, but you know how I feel about almost. The Jaguars almost win a lot of games. The bottom line is they didn't. That's all I've got to say about that. However, I believe they will beat the Cleveland Browns, and Deshaun Watson will go 0-2 and will fucking suck again, just like he did last week. Alright, Jets going on the road to take on the Tennessee Titans. Another battle of the 0-1 football teams. The Jets, they got ran over by the 49ers, and the Titans, Will Levis is a fucking idiot. Yes, the play was already bad when he threw that before he threw that dumbass interception, but he made it worse by throwing that dumbass interception, which ultimately gave the Bears to win. I don't want to poo-poo on the Bears. The Bears actually, I will say this, the Bears actually have a legitimate defense, at least for now. We'll see what happens in the Sunday night game, but yeah, Will Levis, no excuses for losing this game, and I'm not convinced the Titans can come back from that. I'm going to take the Jets to defeat the Titans. I'm sorry, 3 receivers already in their well into their 30s in Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley, and DeAndre Hopkins is not enough to convince me that this Titans offense is actually going to be good. And the Cowboys, they lost Marcus Pollard. That's really going to affect the Cowboys. Boys, it helped the Titans greatly, right? Alright, give me a fucking break. Against that Jets defense, get the fuck out of here. Jets will bounce back and beat the Titans. Alright, Buccaneers going on the road to take on the Detroit Lions. A battle of 1-0 football teams, which I find very fucking interesting. Not really. I like to overrate shit too, so whatever. I'm trying to stay excited, people. Give me a break. Yes, this is actually the rematch of last year's divisional round, where the Lions beat the Buccaneers to advance to the NFC Championship game against the 49ers. And yes, that rematch of last year's championship game will be played at Levi Stadium later on in the season. But let's talk about the Buccaneers. Congrats to the Bucs. They beat a team that they're supposed to beat. But now can they roll into Detroit and beat the Lions? I don't think so. Take the Detroit Lions to once again defeat the Buccaneers, just like they did in last year's divisional round, and just like they did in the regular season matchup earlier that particular season, which was last season. And that's all I've got to say about that. Raiders going on the road to take on the Baltimore Ravens. Both teams are 0-1. Another battle of 0-1 football teams. Is there a 1-0 versus 0-1 yet? My God. God. I may have... asking that shall receive. But anyway, the Raiders actually didn't do too bad. All things considered. They just got to be able to finish games. But it's going to be... But Raiders fans are going to have to be patient, I guess. Yes, and I don't think the Raiders are beating the Ravens. I will say this: the Ravens are on upset alert because the Ravens are always prone to being upset, to upset losses. You saw it last year. When they lost unexpectedly to the Colts. Unless you're a Colts fan, then a biased one at that. But in any event, however, I gotta take the Ravens to defeat the Raiders. I will say this though: Brock Bowers is going to demonstrate why the Broncos made a big mistake passing on Bowers. Like I said, I'm not on the Bo bandwagon, nor will I ever be on the Bo bandwagon. Again, I don't think he's going to be good. But anyway, more on the Broncos later. Rams going on the road to take on the Arizona Cardinals. Another battle of 0-1 football teams. Cardinals lose a tough one against the Buffalo Bills, and the Rams nearly came back. In fact, did come back before the Lions bounced back to put the game in overtime and ultimately win the game in overtime. The Rams are in trouble. The Rams are already in trouble. In addition to losing Puka Nacua, they also lose Steve Avila, and they lose Noteboom as well. 2/5 of your offensive line on temporary IR. Maybe temporary IR. There's always a limit, but the rules have always change at some point. So I don't know what's going on, nor do I care. But Rams better not use injuries as an excuse as to why they lose this game, because I'm taking the Rams to defeat the Cardinals. They'll expect it to be a close contest. You know what? If I lose this pick, I don't care. Cardinals are going to win this game because of the fact that the Rams have lost 2/5 of their offensive line. I mean, hey, I'm just using the same excuse that Browns fans are using, that it's hard to replace, and not just Browns fans, but the media in general, that it's hard to replace offensive linemen in the National Football League. It is. No one's saying it's not. And that's all I've got to say about that. All right, second half of the national doubleheader on CBS. Bengals going on the road to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Finally, a team that does not feature that does not feature two winless football teams. It just features one winless football team in the Bengals and one 1-0 team. Not surprisingly, the Kansas City Chiefs. Though it should have been the opposite, but whatever. It should have been both teams 1-0, but whatever. I don't give a shit. Unfortunately, I think the Bengals are going to go 0-2. I understand Joe Burrow has the Chiefs' number in the regular season, but I don't think he's quite ready yet, at full strength yet. And the Bengals don't necessarily have the greatest running game right now. And you got new players, young ones at that, fumbling the football against the Patriots, and that's all I've got to say about that. So unfortunately, I got to take the Kansas City Chiefs to defeat the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, next up, Steelers going on the road to take on the Denver Broncos. It was supposed to be Russell Wilson's revenge game, but it's looking like that's not going to happen. But because it could be Justin Fields' revenge game, because last year Fields actually played well against the Broncos, which shouldn't surprise anybody because Denver's defense fucking sucks. But the team still lost. But the Bears still lost, that is. Now he's on a more stable organization with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and people are still shitting on the Steelers. Even though they did a great job against Kirk Cousins' so-called great, and the Falcons' so-called great offense, I mean, the Steelers' defense should have no problems against the Broncos' offense. Their offense sucks. And how about that Bo Nix? Yeah, definitely Drew Brees, right? Get the fuck out of here. And I don't want to hear excuses that he's a rookie and it takes time to build a team. It takes time to rebuild. The Broncos had 8 fucking years to rebuild. What? I mean, come on. And during that time, the Broncos have had countless coaches fired, ownership being fucking switched. The only thing that has not, and I repeat, has not changed is the front office, sans Elway, and the fucking scouting department. Those things are still intact. And George Paton which is really genital George Paton, because he's too busy pleasing Greg Penner's genitals. And the only reason why he hasn't been fired yet is because the Broncos are entering the second half of his 6-year deal. And with that being said, the Steelers should be able, since this is a rookie quarterback, the Steelers should be able to make Bo Nix's performance against the Seattle Seahawks seem actually better compared to what the Steelers are going to do, barring a TJ Watt injury and a Minkah Fitzpatrick injury. Those two things are that plus the running game with Warren and Najee Harris. The Steelers should be able to run over the Broncos easily. But this is the Broncos, and historically since 2022 at least, if not longer than that, teams like to experiment against the Denver Broncos. That's why the games are always closer than they should fucking be. However, Steelers, end of story. If I'm wrong, it doesn't change a damn thing. It really doesn't. Alright, Bears going on the road to take on the Houston Texans. Stupid fucking camera. The game is is Sunday Night Football on NBC. Speaking of the running game, how about Joe fucking Mixon? Yeah, I may have been right about the Texans winning, but I take back the whole Texans not being all that. They're commit. Like I said, there's going to be more of a balanced offense with some NFL football teams this year. The Texans might actually be one of those teams. They got their. I believe they finally have their quarterback in C.J. Stroud. Their running game with and with Mixon and the other guy that I keep forgetting to mention, who was the original starting running back, but he's their backup now. Now the Bengals are fucking stupid for letting him walk. I get it. I get it. They needed T. Higgins back for some reason, even though he didn't play in week 1. We'll wait and see what happens. It's with that. Then you got the Bears. Holy shit, Caleb Williams is in for a long season. I believe Caleb can get better as the season goes along, but he's in for a long night, and now it's week 2 and the game is on Sunday night, and the Bears have had a history of shitting the bed on primetime television. Of course, last year was different for some reason. They actually did not they didn't shit the bed as many times on national television. They actually won a game. They actually won 3 fucking games on primetime national television last year. I was shocked. They beat the Washington Commanders. They beat the Carolina Panthers. Wow, everybody beats Carolina, but you get my point. They beat the Minnesota Vikings. There's your third one right there. So who knows? Maybe shit has changed for the Chicago Bears. And their defense is not bad. They have a running game. They too have a running game. I forgot DeAndre Swift was with the Bears now after a year with the Eagles. But I'm just going to go ahead and take the Houston Texans to defeat the Chicago Bears. But hey, I wouldn't be shocked if Chicago starts 2-0. Just saying. But I'm not sure I see it happen. I think it'll be status quo as far as Bears being on national television. And last up, the Falcons taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And womp womp, the Falcons did not score 38 points against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And now you're facing a rejuvenated and reinvigorated Eagles defense and an Eagles offense for that matter, though Jalen Hurts better stop making dumbass dick fuck interceptions. Yeah, it's gonna, that's the thing too. Kirk Cousins did come off his Achilles injury. So it is going to take some time for him to heal, but this is Monday Night Football we're talking about, and Kirk Cousins has always struggled on Monday Night Football. And I know he's won some games, but those wins are exceptions to the rule. This will not be the exception to the rule. Take the Eagles to defeat the Atlanta Falcons, and this game is exclusively on ESPN. That's right. You're not getting Monday Night Football on ABC like you did, or simulcast on ABC with all the games like you did last year. And cable companies were fucking pissed. Like I give a shit, but whatever. I don't give a shit out. I actually don't give a shit out of the way. So anyway, let's see what happens when the chaos starts. That's it. That's all. Till next time, later, fuckers.